You are listening to The Michael Lodge Show. Wealth, business, and taxes. Oh yeah, and some politics. Let's get started.
Okay, let's get started. It's a Monday morning. I hope everybody's having... In fact, it's November 1st. We only have 2 more months until the end of the year. Can you believe it? I just can't believe it. Time has gone by so fast. So much has happened to all of us. We look back over the year... We look back over the 2 years, and so much has pounded on us, has locked us down, has shut us up. And it's November 1st already. We're almost to 2022. Can you believe that? Remember back in 2000, and the world was going to end because of the accounting systems and calculation systems of our computers and everything, and nothing happened. Well, now we're at 2022, and something's going to happen. I don't know what it is, but something's going to happen. And I hope that it's going to be something good. I really do. Because the way that the world is at the moment, and the way that the United States is, you kind of have doubts, right? I mean, we're sitting back and we're watching a bunch of nonsense happening. And we're seeing inflation going up, our expenses are going up, everything's going up. Listen, over the weekend, I was watching a lot of various videos on YouTube and TikTok and Twitter and Instagram, all over the place. And I saw several individuals who were at the bed of their dying parent. I hate to see that. I don't know why people are showing that on social media, but they're showing it. But it brings to me a point. And I think that everybody needs to address it. You know, at some point in time, you and I, we're not going to be here. We just aren't going to be here because life happens. Death happens. But the problem with it, and I'm thinking of a special friend of mine who's in his high 60s at the moment. He's not going to like me saying that he's in the high 60s, but he is. He's old. Just like I'm old. But he's older. And so I was sitting down talking with his wife the other day, and we were talking about issues with his mom, who's still alive. And the issue came up that there's no wills on the son's part and on the mom's part, and there's a whole bunch of property that needs to be divided and taken care of. There's no health directives to tell anybody what to do or who's in charge of that individual's health care directive. There's nothing. And every year, during the past years that I've been doing tax work for individuals and also corporations, I've always sat down with them every single year and asked them, do you have a health directive in place and do you have a will in place? And the majority of them will always say, no, we haven't thought about it yet. Listen, if you are in your high 60s or even if you're in your 60s, you should have everything in place. Everything should be ready to go. Now, I'm going to speak of experience here because with my mom was almost 90 when she passed away. And she was in good health. I mean, at least she appeared to be in good health. Until the time we found out that she was not taking care of her health. She was not doing what a diabetic should do. In fact, no one even knew that she was a diabetic. And when she passed away and I cleaned out her cupboards, there were tons of candy, cookies, and everything that she had made. But what I had done months before she got to this stage, I said, Mom, you've got to sit down. We've got to go over your will, and we need to go over your health directive. And I want you to make the health decisions on what you want to happen in case something malfunctions in your body and you go into a coma or you're not able to make medical decisions on your own. You need to tell me what you want to have done. I tell you, if you have that ready for your family and you've appointed someone to represent you, it makes the process a whole lot easier. Now, I'm going to be morbid just a little bit. I'm going to tell you my experience, because with my mom, my mom seemed like she was healthy up until the very end. Well, she was having problems with the stomach, so she drove herself. The pain got so bad, she drove herself, and then she got lost, and then she walked to the hospital. That's the type of stubborn mom I had. So she went in. They had gallbladder surgery, which didn't need to be done, because when they were inside her in surgery, they found out that the majority of her organs were beginning to malfunction. They were no longer usable. There was nothing that they could do for her at that age, at that stage. She then went into a coma. And I flew to South Carolina. I was in Los Angeles at the time. And I flew to South Carolina. And I sat down and saw her in the emergency portion of the hospital, ICU. And she was on a ventilator. They were just keeping her alive. And she would wake up every few moments and she would raise her hands. And I knew what she was trying to tell me, that she wanted to be taken off this machinery. She wanted to go. It was her time. So I knew I had faxed in the medical directive to the hospital of what she wanted done. I sat down with the attending physician and we went over the issues of what was going on inside her body and what wasn't performing and what would never come back. So I was able to, through her medical directive, where she told me specifically that if she gets into that state of health, that she wanted to go. So I sat down with the doctor and I said, okay, this is what I want done. Take her off the life support systems that you have her on. Move her into a room and just let her pass peacefully. Because that's what she wanted in her health care directive. So they unplugged all the machines. She was moved into her room. We followed her health care directive. The decision was not hard for me to make because she had told me what she wanted done. It was in writing. And I made that decision. And based upon what she had told me in her health care directive. If only you knew what a burden it was, because I didn't have to make the final decision. It was already made for her, and the doctor and we conferred on it, and we did exactly what she told us to do. Early the next morning, that night, they placed her into a room by herself. I remember church ladies came in and sat with her all night long. I had to go home because I was sick. I was literally sick. I had a cold, I had a fever, and I had to get into bed. I got up. I received a text from my stepbrother saying that she was just about ready to pass. I said, okay, I'm getting dressed. I'm on my way to the hospital. Luckily, the hospital was only less than 10 minutes away. By the time I got to the hospital, she was gone. She had died peacefully. The church ladies had been there throughout the night, talked about good things that had happened, about all the fun that they had together. And she passed very quietly, very peacefully. Now, I want you to understand that when an issue like this is happening with one of your family members, especially with your mom or your dad or a brother or a sister, you need to be able to have a clear understanding of what you want done at the time you're in that position. You can no longer make the healthcare decisions on your own. The quality of life is no longer going to be there. And when you put a healthcare directive that tells your individuals who's in charge of you while you're in that state, what you want done, it makes the decision process so much easier because you're following the directive of your mom or dad or brother or sister. A lot of you have not planned for that at all. You have not done your wills. You have not done your medical directive. You have not told your children or the people who are going to be in charge of you what's on your mind and what you want done. And that is a discussion and a decision-making process that every single one of you, you and I, have got to make that. If you haven't made it yet, I don't care how old you are. If you haven't made it yet, if you've got young children, what is the decision process of what happens if something happens to you right now, and who's going to take care of those children? And then you can modify the will and the medical directive later on in life when they get bigger and stronger and good decision makers. But there are so many of you out there now that have not made that decision yet. And it's so important. I believe in peace of mind. And I believe when I leave this world, I want the people that are in charge of my health care to have peace of mind in knowing what that directive is, what my wishes are when I want to pass away. You know, I know this is a morbid discussion to be having on a bright and cheery Monday morning. At least it's bright and cheery right here in South Carolina. But we have to be responsible enough and proactive enough to be able to tell the individuals that love us what we want done. It's a decision-making process. Don't put it off. It really is not that hard, because if you pull up a medical directive, healthcare directive on your Google, just Google it. The choices are there. The ability to make decisions is there. But you're making the decision. And your administrator or trustee who's in charge of you when something happens that we don't want to think about. I know it's hard. But at least they know what to do. It makes it so much easier. I have seen families just toil and scream and cry and carry on because they didn't know what to do. And brothers and sisters began to fight because they had no medical directive. No one told them. The mom and the dad or the brother or sister didn't tell the family members what they wanted done at the time of their death. Now, death is not a good thing to be thinking about, I know, on a Monday morning. I understand that. But I saw all these individuals emotionally sad and torn as they said goodbye to their mom and dad. So I encourage every single one of you. I know that this is not a very fun thing to be talking about, but it has to be done. I think this week what we are going to talk about in the rest of my podcast is we are going to begin on a little bit of life. Life truths, life, what needs to be done. And we're going to start tomorrow on Tuesday. We're going to start with the marriage process and up to the marriage process, through the marriage, and then we'll get to the death part. Now, I know a lot of you are going to turn me off when we get to the death part, but I promise you I'll make it good for you. But I think we need to go through this process because a lot of us have not checked the boxes off of what our responsibilities are to the people that we're leaving behind. And it's so vital. It's so important. And I'm going to use my life as an example because I had to go through it as the administrator of the will and the trustee of the estate. Of some of the things that happened during the course of time that you didn't think was going to happen because they were relatives, but it happened. Because things change when people die. Things about money, about possessions, and everything else, people change. And I'm going to prepare you for that. So, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we are going to talk about this life experience from marriage to childbirth, to being a parent, to doing the process of the marriage that you go through, and then finally when we get to the end. But we'll make it fun, okay? I'm not going to be morbid. I'm not going to be sad. I'm not going to be sniffling. I'm not going to be emotional. We are going to talk about just the truth of life and what our responsibilities are. Listen, if you like my podcast, please help and support me by going to www.buymeacoffee.com/Michael Lodge. Again, that is www.buymeacoffee.com/Michael Lodge. And if you have any business questions or mediation or disputes or conflicts or whatever question that you may have, shoot it over to me at info at lodge, lodge-co.com. Again, that's info at lodge-co.com. Listen, I have enjoyed my Monday morning. I am sitting here. I have a nice cup of hot coffee. It's getting cold now because I'm talking to you. Just 1 second while it's still hot. Wait. I love coffee. So, listen, I want you to go out today. Begin the day. Remember, if you are in a voting state tomorrow, which is November 2nd, get out there and vote because we need your votes. Okay? You need to vote. We need to make some changes in the United States. If you're in Virginia, well, should I tell you how to vote? Well, I'm going to tell you how to vote because I feel so strongly about this. You got to kick the Democrat out and you got to put in a Republican. Listen, I have voted Democrat and I have voted Republican, but right now we are in a mess of trouble because we've got some really bad Democrats out there who are going in the wrong direction of the United States. And you've got some good Democrats there who are working hard for their people. But you've got individuals out there who have gone way too far to the left and have created too much damage to their states and to their jobs as governors, as congresspeople, as whatever position that they're holding. We need to do better at this, people. We need to do better. So tomorrow's a voting day, November the 2nd. Get out there. Do your civil liberty, whatever that you want to call it. Do your responsibility and vote. Because your vote changes things in America. We don't have much else that we can make change in government, but the one thing that we do have is our vote. Voting is so important to make change. Listen, this is Mike Lodge. Everyone go out and have a great day. I hope, hey, did everybody have a great Halloween? I did not have one single trick-or-treater. Not one single. Now, I've seen kids, because I can sit from my window and I can see there's a little grassy area in back of my house and there are little kids out there playing baseball. There's this one little kid that comes. I want to go out and play with him, but I feel like I probably would not be acceptable. But he goes out there and he plays baseball by himself. He hits the ball goes over to another section of the grass, and he runs all 3 bases. And gets a home run. Every single time he gets a home run. That's one thing that when you're doing things alone, you can change the rules any which way that you want. But I always see that kid out there. So I know there's kids in my neighborhood. I'm so new at this. I just finished my first full week in South Carolina. And I know there's kids out there in my neighborhood, but I didn't see them out last night. Of course, in my neighborhood, it's kind of dark at night. I wouldn't want to go out trick-or-treating. You hear all kinds of birds and animals, and you hear rustling in the bushes. I don't know. I miss Halloween when I was a kid, because I remember my cousins and we had a blast going trick-or-treating. And we tried to hit as many houses as we can. I heard a good statement the other day. If you want to teach your children about taxes, take 25% of their candy. So if you want to teach them about taxes and what taxes are about, take 25% of their candy. This is Mike Lodge. Talk with you soon. Bye-bye. This podcast is produced by Michael Lodge, fully focused on content.